Pokemon Balf's Quest. David, at 40, was perhaps a little older than the usual new Pokemon trainer. He tugged at the sleeve of his baby blue tracksuit, the fabric a stark contrast to the rugged landscape of Swale. Before him, the King's Ferry Bridge rose like a steel giant, its shadow stretching long in the afternoon sun. His quest was simple: find a sea captain named Mags. The bridge hummed with the passage of cars and lorries, a constant, low thrum that vibrated through the souls of his trainers. He clutched the strap of his backpack, the single Pokeball containing his partner, Onix, feeling heavy and full of promise. This was a far cry from his old life, a world of spreadsheets and deadlines. On the other side, the air grew thick with the scent of salt and mudflats. Gulls cried overhead as he scanned the shoreline, a chaotic collection of small docks and weathered buildings. He was looking for a specific boathouse, one belonging to a captain with a package for Professor Lavender. And there it was, just as the professor had described it, a ramshackle boathouse with a faded blue roof and a crooked sign that might have once read Mags Marine. It looked as though it had weathered 100 storms, each one leaving its mark on the tired wood. He made his way down a gravel path, his footsteps crunching loudly in the quiet air. As he drew closer, he could hear a gruff voice from inside, singing a sea shanty that was terribly off-key. A smile touched David's lips. This had to be the place. The door creaked open before he could knock. A woman with a face as weathered as the boathouse itself stood there, her gray hair tied back in a messy bun. "You'll be David," she said, her voice like gravel. "Lavender's lad. I'm Mags. Get in here before the tide turns." Before David could step inside, a flash of yellow caught his eye. Perched on a nearby piling, nibbling on a stray wire, was a wild Pikachu. Its cheeks sparked with faint electricity, its dark eyes watching them with a fierce, territorial glare. "Feisty little spark plug," Mags grunted. The Pikachu's ears twitched, and it let out a challenging "Pikachu!" unleashing a torrent of sparks into the air. David felt a surge of adrenaline, sharp and potent. This was his first real test. "I'm going to catch it," he declared, his voice steadier than he felt. He threw the Pokeball. With a flash of red light, Onix erupted from the capsule. The colossal Pokemon towered over the dock, its body of interconnected boulders casting a long, intimidating shadow. The old wood groaned in protest under its immense weight. "Onix, rock throw," David commanded. Onix roared and slammed its tail into the ground, sending a jagged rock hurtling through the air. But the Pikachu was a blur of yellow, zipping aside with impossible speed. The rock missed, shattering a wooden piling and sending a violent spray of water into the air. The Pikachu's cheeks glowed with furious light. "Pikachu!" it shrieked, unleashing a thick, crackling bolt of lightning. The air smelled of ozone as the raw energy surged across the dock, a blinding yellow lance aimed directly at Onix. The thunderbolt washed over Onix's rocky hide like water over a mountain. The electricity dissipated harmlessly, not leaving so much as a scorch mark. David let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. The type advantage was real. A surge of confidence, hot and sharp, cut through his fear. "Now, Onix, use Earthquake," he roared. Onix reared back its massive head and slammed it into the dock with cataclysmic force. The world seemed to explode. The planks splintered and buckled, and the water around them churned into a violent froth. The seismic wave tore through the structure. The Pikachu, its speed useless against the very ground it stood on, was thrown into the air before crashing down onto the ruined dock. It lay still, overwhelmed by the raw, untamable power. David's heart hammered against his ribs. He threw an empty Pokeball. It struck the fainted Pokemon, pulling it inside in a swirl of red energy. The ball shook violently on the splintered wood. Once, twice, David held his breath. A final, definitive click echoed in the sudden silence. He had done it. Not bad for a landlubber, Mag said, a hint of a smile on her face. She disappeared into the boathouse and returned with a small, boxy parcel wrapped in brown paper. Here, from Lavender. Now, best be on your way. With the parcel secure in his backpack and 2 Pokemon on his belt, David set off along the beach. The sun was beginning to dip towards the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The gentle lapping of the waves was a peaceful soundtrack to his journey home. Darkness fell quickly. The moon rose, a silver sliver in the inky sky. Ahead, 2 monolithic shapes loomed against the stars. The old Monsel forts, relics of a forgotten war, stood like silent sentinels in the shallow water. As he drew closer, a strange purple mist began to swirl around the base of the nearest tower. An unnatural cold emanated from it, deadening all sound and raising the hairs on his arms. This was not fog. This was something else. From the heart of the mist, a form coalesced. A floating black orb surrounded by a gaseous purple aura, with 2 wide, malevolent eyes and a fanged grin that promised only malice. A ghastly. It cackled, a sound that scraped against his nerves. Okay, a ghost type. David's bravado was a thin shield against the creeping dread. Pikachu, I choose you. The electric mouse appeared, its fur on end, its usual confidence replaced by a wary tension. Pikachu fired a thundershock, but the bolt passed harmlessly through the ghastly as it became incorporeal. The ghost solidified an inch from Pikachu's face, its spectral form radiating a chilling cold. It reached out and touched the small mouse, whose bright energy seemed to drain away in an instant. Pikachu collapsed, utterly spent. He recalled Pikachu, his jaw tight with anger and fear. This thing was a true predator. You're strong, but you're not unbeatable. He grabbed his first Pokeball, his last hope. Onyx, let's go. The ground trembled as the giant Pokemon appeared, its solid presence a comfort in the face of the phantom. The ghastly phased through Onyx's first lunge, cackling as the rock snake crashed into the sand. It was too fast, too ethereal. Onyx, dig and wait. David yelled, a desperate plan forming. Onyx burrowed out of sight. The ghastly, seeing its prey vanish, floated down to mock David. As it solidified to unleash an attack, David screamed, "Now!" Onyx erupted from the sand directly beneath the ghost, its massive head connecting with a sickening crunch. The ghastly fell to the beach, its light extinguished. One more throw, and it was caught. David sank to his knees, utterly drained. This was more than a game, it was survival. He would camp here, under the silent watch of the forts, and try to understand the dangerous new world he had just entered.